Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. So we talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Russ Jaffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content and hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. During the transfer portal season, it's either a good thing or a bad thing when you're in the news a lot, depending on whether you're bringing in a lot of transfer portal players or losing a lot of players to the portal. But in the case of Illinois, it's been all good news because Illinois has brought in 3 players through the portal so far, and the latest addition is Kylan Boswell, the former Arizona guard, and I'm going to go over how big of an addition Kylan Boswell will be for Illinois next season and whether Brad Underwood can continue to have Illinois toward the top of the Big Ten next season. Now, the last time I talked about Illinois, it was during the Trey White announcement that he was committing to Illinois, the former Louisville forward, and Brad Underwood was being rumored for the Kentucky head basketball job. But the good thing for Illinois, and I did say it in that video, that I thought with the announcement that Trey White was going to Illinois, and plus the fact that Illinois had already brought in a player through the portal before in Jake Davis, that I'm like, Brad Underwood staying at Illinois. He is committed to the program. He's not going to go to Kentucky, and that ended up being the case. And now Illinois just landed Kylan Boswell, the lead guard from the Arizona Wildcats, and Illinois has connections to Kylan Boswell because he's actually from Champaign, Illinois, which is where the Illinois Fighting Illini's campus is located. And maybe Kylan Boswell would have committed to Illinois out of high school, but he ended up playing for the Arizona Compass Prep School, which is one of the top high school basketball programs in the country, kind of like Montverde, IMG Academy, and La Lumiere. And that's kind of tough for a lot of these programs when you have a guy that's in your hometown or in your home state, and then they end up going to play for one of those top high school programs, and then they commit to a school that's a lot closer to where they're currently at than where they are from. So Arizona benefited from Kylan Boswell playing at Arizona Compass Prep, and he ended up committing to the Arizona Wildcats earlier than he should have because he was supposed to be in the 2023 class, but he ended up reclassifying into 2022 and playing in college basketball a year younger than he was supposed to, and he ended up having some success. There's been a lot of stories of guards end up reclassifying into college basketball a year early, and they end up becoming players that don't end up really developing, and they don't end up having a lot of success. Christian Lander is an example that a lot of people talk about because he was a 5-star recruit, and he reclassified to go to Indiana a year earlier, and he did not have a lot of success, but he is playing better now at Western Kentucky, but it took him some time. But Kylan Boswell averaged 5 points per game, 1 rebound, and 1 assist as a freshman. He didn't play all that much, though. He only played 15 minutes per game, and he still was solid overall in those 15 minutes. He shot 78% from the free throw line and 39% from 3, which is very solid for a young guard in college basketball. But then as a sophomore, his statistics jumped in all areas of the game. Even though he's still a very young player, he was able to help Arizona be a really solid team this past season that went to the Sweet 16, and he averaged 9 points per game, 3 assists, and 2 boards, and he shot 80% at the line and 38% from 3 on a higher volume, and he only shot 40% from the field. So he definitely has to do a better job at shooting from the field, but he is only a 6'2 guard. So when you are on the shorter side, it does kind of make sense for your field goal shooting percentage to be a bit low, but he does weigh 200 pounds. So he has enough weight that, especially being now in the Big Ten, he's going to have to use that weight to drive in the lane and absorb contact. But I think all around his game is on an upward trajectory. And with him being such a young player, and even though Illinois did not land him out of high school, Illinois is landing Kylan Boswell now with him being a better player, and he's probably going to be even better next season. So sometimes good things come to those who wait. In Illinois, they didn't get Boswell out of high school, but they got him now, and it looks like he's going to be a really big player for the Illinois Fighting Illini next season if they want to have another great year. Brad Underwood took him to the Elite Eight this past season, and you know Illinois does not want to drop off this season. Even with all the Pac-12 teams coming over, and USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington to the Big Ten, Purdue's losing Zach Edey, and Illinois has a shot to be that team that can take over the top spot in the Big Ten next season if everything goes to plan. And even though Illinois is losing guys like Terrence Shannon and Marcus Damas from this past season's team, they got guys like Ty Rogers and Luke Goody coming back, Sincere Harris. All of these guys could end up improving next season. And then they brought in Jake Davis through the transfer portal, Trey White, the transfer portal forward from Louisville, like I already mentioned, and now Kylan Boswell, the transfer portal guard from Arizona. That is 3 transfer portal players for Illinois. And Brad Underwood has had a fantastic track record of bringing in guys through the transfer portal, and they've had a lot of success. If you look at Alfonso Plummer, if you look at Terrence Shannon, Matthew Meyer, it just goes on and on. Even Quincy Guerrier this past season for Illinois as well, the transfer portal forward from Oregon had some success as well. And Illinois still has 2 roster spots available. They haven't updated Kylan Boswell on the scholarship chart just yet, but that is huge for Illinois to get a lead guard, because Joe Tipton tweeted out that Arizona transfer guard Kylan Boswell is committed to Illinois. He was a top 35 recruit and a Champaign native that averaged 10 points and 4 assists this past season. So with him being back in his home state and being back at his hometown, that is going to be huge for Illinois, because usually guys like that end up playing harder for their home state school. And I think with him being so young, he has a lot of growth that he can still achieve in college basketball. He's not even 20 years old yet. He's only going to be 19 this April. And with him being already as good of a player as he is right now, and he was the lead guard on the Arizona Wildcats this past season, he's going to be able to easily translate that over to the Big Ten with Illinois, because Illinois really needed a lead guard. And if Illinois did not land Kylan Boswell, it would have been tough for them to get a point guard that would have been really good for them next season. There's still other names in the portal, but it was just a great opportunity for Illinois, because I was kind of surprised that Kylan Boswell left Arizona. He was having success there. He probably would have been able to improve next season. Tommy Lloyd's been doing a good job down there in Arizona, but maybe he was homesick a little bit, wanted to go back home. So that definitely benefited Illinois. As you can see, why it matters for Illinois on getting Kylan Boswell, they really needed a point guard, like I already said, and the fact that Illinois had 5 roster spots available, they've already filled up 3 of them, and Brad Underwood's probably going to be able to fill up those other 2 roster spots as well. I believe that he should be able to get a couple of guys that maybe can be bench players, because Trey White, I think he's going to be a starter more than likely. Kylan Boswell, he's penciled in as the starting point guard for Illinois. Jake Davis, we'll have to see. He definitely is possibly good enough to be a starting player as well. And then when you look at the scouting report from 247 Sports, when talking about Kylan Boswell, they're saying much of the stuff I've already said, that he is a proven floor general who has a lot of upside still, which is so tough to find in the transfer portal. And he's only 19 years old, even though he's going to be a junior. And I think he still has NBA potential, which could be tough for Illinois. If Kylan Boswell has such a good season next year, he could only end up being in Champaign for 1 year and he goes off to the pros. But still, you got to add a guy like Kylan Boswell when you can. And they're talking about how he is a good shooter and he has great positional size as a point guard, being able to drive in the lane with his weight. And even though he's only 6'2", he plays bigger than he is, and he's a really good shooter at such a young age. He's a good facilitator as well. I mean, he's not one of the best point guards in college basketball at passing the ball. He still has to improve at that. But again, that's where the age comes into play. I think that Kylan Boswell is just going to improve in so many areas next season. If you are an Illinois fan, you got to be liking what you are seeing with the Fighting Illini for next season. I mean, tons of programs are still struggling to bring in players, and there's still a lot of time for next season. But the fact that Illinois' roster is almost complete, and the 2 guys that they got to bring in are probably going to be guys that come off the bench. Maybe they do need another center down low that can really be able to hone down that 5 position, maybe get another forward as well. But still, other than that, Illinois' roster is getting really close to being complete. The backcourt's looking really good with Kylan Boswell now as the lead guard. I like the Trey White addition, and Jake Davis, he's a good shooter as well, which will be able to help out Illinois with losing Marcus Damask and Terrence Shannon, who are really good shooters. I think Illinois is going to be a good shooting team next season, and now they've got a point guard that is back in his hometown, and he's going to be able to help facilitate to all those guys on the roster. Illinois looks to be a top 25 team next season in college basketball, and if Brad Underwood can end up getting a couple more solid transfer portal players, maybe Illinois could end up being a top 3 team in the Big Ten next season. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about Kylan Boswell transferring back to his hometown and his home state to play for the Illinois Fighting Illini, and whether you were surprised that he ended up transferring from Arizona, and whether you think he can improve next season for Illinois and be an even better player than he was this past season for Arizona, and how good of a team you think Illinois could possibly be next season. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.